1, 2.
Well, where's Bernice Tingle?
I know. She's usually
early.
Okay, we alive.
Give me one moment.
I have Bernice coming on.
I don't see Brittany either. Brittany, kick. Let's see her.
Sorry about that, everybody. All righty, we'll get started. We'll try to finish on time. We have a big agenda today. So can we do a call? Let's do the call of order and pledge of allegiance. Could I ask, oh, he just showed up. Director Wright, could you lead us to the pledge of allegiance, please? Sorry about that, everybody. All right, we'll get started. We'll try to finish on time. We have a big agenda today. I don't know if Dan Wright heard me though. Dan, would you lead us to the pledge of allegiance, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Could we, Candace, would you mind doing roll call, please?
Sure. Director Akinjo,
Yeah, Mom.
Cantu,
Here.
Hobbit,
Here.
Hernandez,
Here.
Hudson,
Here.
Kick, King Tingle,
Here.
McPartland, Neram,
Here.
Rickman,
Here.
Stepper,
Here.
Vargas,
Here.
Warner,
Here.
Wright,
Here.
Zuba.
Here.
Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Before we go to public comments, I may change the last item on the agenda, depending on timing, move it up a little bit because we have a director that have to leave early. So I want to make sure that we have full participation on voting. So I may move that a little early depending on timing. So at 3:30, we'll look before 3:30. We want to just probably move the election of chair and vice chair prior to 3:30. So we have full participation of the board. With that being said, yes. Public comments, and I will open public comments. Those are comments by the attendees of the public, not related to the agenda items. And as a reminder, it's 2 minutes, and it have to be on items not on the agenda, and constructed comments. No foul language or no disparaging remark is allowed on those comments. So, Candace, do you have any members of the public wishing to make any remarks?
I do not have any members of the public with a hand raised, and I have not received any public comment in writing.
All righty, then I will close public comment and move along to agenda item number 4, which is consent items. We have the minutes from January 12th, the treasurer's report, and the resolutions of R04-2022 declaring the agency and meetings to continue via teleconference. Do I have a motion?
I'll move the motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
I second.
We have a motion by Director Stepper and a second by Director Tingle. Roll call, please.
Akinjo,
Yes, ma'am.
Cantu,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Did we get Kick? King Tingle,
Yes.
McPartland, Neram,
Yes.
Rickman,
Yes.
Stepper,
Yes.
Vargas.
And do we have any comments from the public on the consent item agenda?
I still have a couple names. Warner,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Zuber.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Sorry about that, you guys.
No
Thank
worries.
you. All right. And no comments from the public?
I do not have anyone with a hand raised.
Perfect. We'll close that. And we moved along to agenda number 4, but before, I'm sorry, I'm on agenda number 5, but before we do that, I want to just make some remarks. Today is the last meeting of Michael Tree, and I wanted to express our gratitude and our most extreme, the sentiment. I have no words for all the hard work that Michael has done for all of us, this agency, and we are so grateful that we got to spend the last 5 years together working on this project, Michael. We had a present for you that I guess is in back order, so I think Candace has a little picture of what we are sending you away with. Candace, do you have it there to show?
Who?
We have a little present. You know who, funny guy. I want to point out that Director McFarlane has just joined us as well. All right, Candice, do you have that or no?
Lamborghini. Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
That's beautiful.
Wow.
nice.
I hope you have a lot of books at home.
Beautiful.
You can put the EIR.
Yeah, I'll put the EIR in there.
It's going to be an expensive rail we're building out of those.
Yes. Real. Very nice.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Michael, the entire board is incredibly thankful. This is on behalf of the boards and staff members, and you will be missed and forever thankful for everything you have done to get us to this point. Your leadership and your managing and the tireless hours and weekends that you have worked on our behalf. For me, I will always remember that. So thank you, sir, for all the years of service that you have put through on this agency. And Director Akinjo, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. But Michael Tree owes me the rail stake. He's been promising for 2 years. So before he leaves, he needs to make arrangement for me to get my stake. It's also been mailed to the city. We didn't have it. So please send it to the city. Thank you,
I'll
sir.
get it for you.
Yeah, we're gonna miss you, but we need the stakes too at the city hall. Thank you.
Sounds great.
And Michael, you have the floor. Bernice, you
Yeah,
have
I can't get my chat open, but I just have a brief comment. I just want to echo back and concur or amen those words that were given by Chair Vargas. But on a personal note, I would say that Mr. Tree, it's always wonderful to work on a project when you have a level of confidence on the people who are leading and directing, and that you're always there, you're always informative. You make meetings on time when you go out to meet with the various cities and what have you, and explain things in a way that make people excited about it and they can see the vision that we have planned for it. So I wish you good luck and Godspeed on everything that you do going forth. But it's really been a pleasure to work with you.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Bernice.
You're welcome.
Director McFarlane, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I've got to tell you that in in many years of leadership, in most cases, what one has to do is to try to get people to work collectively and cooperatively in line, and sometimes be in a position where you could both mentor them as well as poke them in the butt when they need it. And in the case of Michael Tree, it has been a mad dash of trying to keep up. And for that, all I can do is stand back and say how awed I have been with his performance, and I wish him well in his future. Godspeed.
Thank you, Director McFarland. Director Wright.
Yeah, yes. I'm thinking back to the very first Valley Link meeting I had at Stockton City Hall with the dynamic duo of Michael and Chair Vargas. And I think the thing that impressed me most about Michael at that time was his absolute clarity on the vision for this project. And I've never seen that waver in the years it's been since that meeting. And I think that's critical to a project like this, because once you start wavering at all, then people will try to cut it off at every possible turn. So, and I think that's the gift that you brought to this, and let's keep up the vision and bring this thing all the way through. Good job, Michael.
Thank
Thank you, Director Wright. And Director Warner, you have the floor, sir. And then we'll go to Karen Stepper.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you to Michael as well. And, worked with him for many years, starting with the Wheels bus system. So I'm glad we're not losing him there, and glad we were able to bring him on at Wheels, that he was able to incredibly do both jobs for so long and so well. And I'm glad to be continuing to work with him.
Very nice. Director Stepper.
Just wanted to thank you, Michael, for your leadership in the sense that everybody has confidence in when you say it, it's going to happen. And so that direction for a project this large is really unique to have that type of management and leadership. And so I very much enjoyed working with you. And it helps me that I can just say what you said to the Danville Council and know that they'll have confidence because of your confidence in leading us. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
David's out. I'm not putting him on the floor.
Oh, David.
David, you have the floor, Mr. Hudson.
I just thought to say I've driven another one crazy. Do you know how lucky you are, Michael? Haggerty wanted me on this thing originally. And this idea that you're leaving is bull. People never really leave. They always have their hand or their foot or something in there. So, I mean, there's a lot of things we can congratulate you for, but the one that really impresses me the most, because I've been on the transit board also, is how you were able to bring County Connection and Lab together, whereas it always seemed like there was that little thread that we just could never get it together. And then to combine that with Valley Link and Innovate 6.8, these are not easy tasks. And I would just say that now that I've gotten rid of Michael, watch out, Kevin.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
I love it.
All right, Michael, you have the floor.
Yeah, I know Kevin has a lot to report on, but I'll just kind of end my tenure just by saying what a real pleasure it has been to work with you all. You've been wonderful bosses, and more important to me, you've been just wonderful individuals who really care. I mean, this is a labor of love for everybody. I'm just totally cognizant of the fact that you're not getting a stipend, and you show up because you want to move the project, and you have a vision there to help, a lot of folks that have a miserable commute. I'll tell you, I really appreciate you, Chair Vargas. You've been available to me round the clock for years. I mean, we've been working on this thing, if you include the working group, for 6 or 7 years. And I just really appreciate all that you have brought to the project. Really appreciate the LAFTA team. I could never walk away without thanking them. Tamara Edwards and Tony McCauley and Tone Tron as of recent, the effort that they put into the project above and beyond what they do at LAFTA. And then Mary Ann Payne, definitely from day one. She's the heart and soul of the project in a lot of different ways. And so, you know, I really have enjoyed working with her and hope to continue working with her. And then I'll just say two other comments. Probably one of the most important members of the executive team has been Michael Conneran. And I know I get to keep working with him with the bus side of things, but that guy has dropped, in a moment's notice, has dropped what he had on the plate to help us out with this project. And he's the most fantastic legal counsel I've had in my career. And then I'll just end on a great note. Your executive team, my goodness, you're developing a lot of competence, a lot of expertise in this project, and a lot of respect coming in from other agencies in regard to the last couple of hires that this board has made, and including your new executive director, Kevin Sheridan. So I'm excited, and you're right, I'm not going anywhere.
Only because somebody took the time to do a good job and mentor the next people coming in. So that is on you, my friend. And this board cannot thank you enough to have that foresight, that kind of leadership. You know, the vice chair and I, we spoke about that before in our hug, and we are forever thankful that our team sees, you know, and how we need to program and mentor the next, you know, line forward. So forever thankful, sir. We really appreciate everything you have done for us. And I don't want to speak for the vice chair, but I think I remember you like that. Yeah. All right. So with that said, do we have your last update?
What was that, Chair?
Do you have your last update to give us? Or your
I've been working hard behind the scenes on the TERSIP grant, and I know your executive team has as well. And I know Kevin has been working on a host of other things. I think I'll just turn the floor over, so to speak, to Kevin to bring you up to speed on a whole host of things that are in play.
All righty. So Kevin, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. And what a hard act to follow, and just echoing the comments of the board, and especially the last comment you had, Chair, is that Michael is really, it's a testament to his commitment on this project, how much time he took to assemble a team to transition to. I really feel confident in our team, and just having been around Michael the last 8 months to learn about a lot of the dynamics in the region and the relationships has been instrumental for me, and looking forward to, you know, carrying those forward and moving on. We have a lot of excitement and a lot of challenges ahead of us, and I would like to go over many of them, but we put them as items in on our agenda. So we have a lot of exciting agenda items today. So I'm just going to turn it over to the next item, which I guess is number 6, should be my contract, which someone else will have to speak to. So.
Yes. All right, that's an action item. And do we have a staff report?
I can take that. Yes, we do. I think it sort of summarizes it. This was very easy. There really wasn't a negotiation because Kevin is so committed to the budget of this agency that he refused to take a raise. So we basically just pushed along his contract terms, changing the title and extending the term so it's a 3-year contract. So otherwise, there's really no change, and you will have the opportunity at each year's evaluation. If you decide to increase his compensation, that will certainly be your choice there. So don't feel too bad for him, and we certainly appreciate his dedication to keeping the budget in line. So with that, I would recommend your approval.
Hey, no raise. I'll move resolution 5 to 2022.
I will move the motion for the actual action item. Mr. Hudson.
Oh, same thing. Resolution R5 2022.
You got it. So before we go to vote, let me open this to the public for any comments. Do we have any members from the public wishing to make any comments on this item?
I do not have anyone with the hand raised.
Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board for a vote. Can we have a roll call, please?
Akinjo,
Yes, ma'am.
Cantu,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Kick. No, Kick. King
Yes.
Tingle. Oh, Kick is here.
Yep, sorry, I was late here.
King Tingle. King Tingle.
She's
Yeah.
saying yes, but she's muted.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. McPartland,
Yes.
Neram,
Yes.
Rickman,
Yes.
Stepper,
Yes.
Vargas,
Yes.
Warner,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Zuba.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Candice. Moving along to item number 7, update on the state legislation's advocacy. I believe we have Gus, our lobbyist from the state. I actually want to thank Gus for all the work that he's doing and for keeping promoting Valley Link in the state. But I'm looking forward for him to update the entire board and share the, all the good stuff that he's been collaborating, working with. Gus, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Chair Vargas. Good afternoon, directors. Gus Corey, legislative advocate for Valley Link. Greatly appreciate the opportunity to work on your behalf and represent you in Sacramento and beyond. Lots of activity. Also just, Madam Chair, just want to say I'm indebted to Michael for the tireless hours that he put in to really helping to elevate the profile of the Valley Link project with key stakeholders in Sacramento, outside of our legislative delegation, meetings that you've been a part of, and others with other state officials, such as the California State Transportation Agency, among other people that are decision makers. So lots of opportunities and challenges in Sacramento. Just want to provide you maybe with a brief overview of where we are with respect to the legislative timeline.
Go ahead. I'm going to ask the members, the directors, if you can mute yourself, please. There you go.
So just want to provide you a brief overview of sort of where we are with respect to the legislative timeline, give you a very brief summary of the governor's budget, and talk about some opportunities and challenges. And so, with respect to the legislative timeline, the legislature reconvened for the second year of its 2-year session on January 3rd. Governor Newsom came out with his proposed fiscal year 22-23 state budget on January 10th. So the legislature will be working concurrently on policy bills and the state budget process. The budget has to be sent to the governor per the Constitution by June 15th and enacted by June 30th so that it goes into effect on July 1st. There was not a deal on the transportation budget from last year. You may recollect that Governor Newsom was requesting for a $4.2 billion appropriation from the Proposition 1A High-Speed Rail Bond Act to exhaust the appropriation authority there. The legislature and the governor were unable to come to agreement, despite the fact that the governor was also trying to make resources available from the general fund for the first time since 2009 for rail and transit and several other programs. But it's provided an opportunity, given that there is a state budget surplus now that's higher than what was predicted. And so with respect to the state budget in fiscal year 2021, which was not that long ago, we had a $53 billion deficit. For fiscal year 21-22, we had a $76 billion surplus. And for this year, we're already estimated to have a $45.7 billion surplus, which in the aggregate is a $174 billion swing. And it is about the equivalent of what the whole entire general fund was last year, just to kind of give you some context there. So out of the $45 billion, $20 billion is up to the legislature and governor to decide how to carve up. That's after, we fulfill our Proposition 98 obligations for education, and we fulfill obligations under Proposition 2 for the state budget rainy day fund. So in this year's budget, what the governor is proposing is pretty similar to last year. The difference is, he wants the $4.2 billion for high-speed rail, for statewide transit and rail projects, which is the TIRSA program that Mr. Tree had referred to. It was $1 billion last year. He's raising that to a $2 billion program. There's a $1.25 billion earmark for Southern California. Most of that is in preparation for the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles. And then there's heavy investment to zero emission vehicle infrastructure and equipment. It's a $10 billion investment over the next 6 years. And so the narrative is changing quite rapidly in Sacramento. It was only 4 years ago that Senate Bill 1 was approved to provide additional resources to augment multimodal options. Under the Newsom administration and through various successive executive orders, the governor has been trying to promote that people are able to ditch single occupant gas powered vehicles and use multimodal systems, hopefully like Valley Link. And so over the course of, I would say, the last 7 months, and I know prior, but it's really accelerated since, Michael had brought me on last June, and even more so with Director Sheridan on board and working with Mr. Ritter and Ms. Payne. We've been out there trying to raise our profile. So we've met with Assembly Transportation Committee Chair Laura Friedman, who's the point person for Speaker Rendon on the budget negotiation discussions. She's very much interested in investments into hydrogen. And I think what's compelling for a lot of people with respect to our project, the more that they hear about it, is that it's a new system. It connects to an existing system. It has independent utility. It will connect to high-speed rail. It's operating on a zero-emission fuel. It's going through a high-density area, which also serves disadvantaged communities. That checks a lot of boxes as far as what the governor is trying to accomplish with his climate action plan for transportation infrastructure. And so I do feel that in working with our delegation, Senator Susan Eggman, Assembly Member Vila Pudwa, and Assemblymember Rebecca Bauer-Cahan, they've been very vocal advocates. We have Speaker Anthony Rendon, that's Assemblymember Vila Pudwa is going to host on February 23rd, so that he can get a little bit more intimately familiar with the project. And we're going to give him a tour of our prospective site for the hydrogen facility, which will also help not just Valley Link, but perhaps the trucking industry and some of our transit systems, which we depend on for first and last mile service to get to our stations.
Yes, I'm sorry to
Yes.
interrupt you. I want to make sure that while we said that this meeting, I thought that we were hosting it, but it doesn't matter. We're, shining light to our project. Please make sure to make, I don't know who all the invitees our staff is working on, but the Mayor Tracy will be there too. So I want to make sure that we don't have no Brown Act violation on any of the invitees. So please check with Kevin and our city manager to make sure that we have the right people that needs to be in this meeting.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I think that's definitely up to yours and Director Sheridan's discretion so that we're in compliance with the Brown Act and quorum and that sort of a thing. But I think that the main thing is just to underscore that, we are getting high profile stakeholders that are paying attention and wanting to better understand the utility of the project and how we can move the ball forward here on closing on a transportation budget package solution. Not to mention all the great work that Valley Link staff and board members have done with leveraging local resources, our partnership with MTC, among others, the developer fees that we've been able to accrue. It's making for a very compelling case. And so it's my hope that in the coming months that we'll have a little bit more clarity as far as what the opportunities are. Part of the challenge is, yes, there's an abundance of money, but there are also others around the state that need resources, some systems that are more mature, that need to complete their project as well. And so we're looking for synergy and symbiotic opportunities for it to translate into success, given that ours is a multi-regional project. And so I'll stop right there and see if folks have any questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you, guys. Before I open to the panel, I'm gonna open it to the public for any public comments. Candice, do we have anybody wishing to make any remarks?
I have no members of the public with a hand raised.
Perfect. We'll bring it back to the board. Directors, any additional questions from the group? Director Stepper, you have the floor.
Just like I appreciate you being here today and for representing us. I'm a little unclear on that last part where you talked about, you used the word more mature, but let's just say some projects are closer to completion and need funds. So are there not funds for new projects as well?
No, there are, Director. So I'll give you an example, like Caltrain electrification, which was a project that came to fruition more so in 2012 with the original appropriation of the High-Speed Rail Bond Act and some of the federal resources that were made available. It has a shortfall. The ACE system, and Kevin can speak more to that, received some substantial funding through Senate Bill 1 and through a previous TIRSIP cycle. They'll be securing some funds. And so I guess what I mean to underscore is that our primary source of funding comes from competitive programs. And so there will be several applicants, but at the same time, there should be more opportunity because of the resources that are available, both on the state and federal level, for us to be able to acquire.
And I may add, exactly. And what I may add, our project is the opportunities that we have to be extremely competitive is in relation to the zero emissions, the hydrogen fuel sources. We have a one additional feather that put us a little bit in a better competition. Yeah. Director Hudson, you have the floor.
Yeah, actually, I think we have more than that. Just really depends. I had a question. I don't know if it's Michael, Kevin, Gus, whomever. Did you say a date when we might be asking people out to see the hydrogen refueling? What was that date again? I missed it.
You haven't missed it because we're just setting up so we want to make sure that we don't have violation of Brown Act. So we want to make sure that we invite the right AHA committee and the right members. Of course, the city of Tracy says hosting it here because the OM facility is here. So our mayor will be attending. I will be here, but invitations will go out. The day is the 23rd. It will be at 10 o'clock.
23rd
of this month, February 23rd.
Oh, yeah. Darn. I was going to suggest that you do it Friday at noon, and anyone that didn't get a room on Thursday night will never make it on time, but at least they'll be able to see what they're up against. I know that it sounds silly, but I have to tell you, early on, when we were trying to do Highway 4, there was a suggestion to have the regional transportation committees come out to Highway 4, which would be Tri-Delta, to be ex officio on the board as we were trying to extend BART out there. I never made it on time. I kept going a half an hour earlier and a half an hour earlier, and you can't make it. And I'll tell you what, it speaks louder than words when you're looking at all of those people that are trying to get home and you're part of it as early as noon. You are backed up to Dublin. So, yep. I mean, I don't know if it's the 23rd is a Friday. If so, somebody figured it out on their own, but you'll never make it out there unless you leave 3 or 4 hours early. And I'd strongly ask that you send everyone that's on the Bay Area Regional Collaborative. I'd go to the Air District. There's still a lot of money in that. And let them see what they're up against. Our biggest problem is going to be the self-taxing that Southern California did on themselves for matching funds. And that's going to be the bigger issue.
Absolutely. And we are envisioning, and Kevin actually, they suggested that the AHA Committee for Sustainability that we just met will be a good addition to that discussion. So we'll reach out, and Kevin will just organize that with the staff members from Via Perua's office, and we'll reach out to their, to the members that needs to be in attendance to this meeting, which is great. We, highlighting our project in another level, having the House Speaker coming over and seeing what we're trying to do, and especially when we're asking for dollars, it's, it's a highlight that we want on our project. So we are very excited, very, very excited. All right, is anybody else wanting to make any additional comments? All right, moving along. This is an informational item, so it's no vote. We'll go to item number 8. The strategic discussion and sustainability. And I have to say, we did have our first meeting and bravely, Supervisor Harvard did come out and he's leading this AHA committee. So I'm gonna pass it on to our new leader on this subcommittee to just speak a little bit and give us a little bit of feedback. Director.
All right. Very good. I think we have a couple of slides from, or at least one from the ad hoc committee report, key findings. Who wants to put that up?
I can do that.
Thanks, Candace. And I think also maybe Marianne, you want to say a few things or chime in. I know that Kevin, you were on that subcommittee call, is that right?
That's correct.
All right, we'll be a group effort here, group effort.
Yeah. We also have Stadler on the phone to present some information as well.
Here's what we'll do very quickly is we'll give a little report out briefly, and then we'll let Stadler put the nice photo of the train that they're currently building. How's that?
Sounds like a plan.
All right, well, everyone sees that beautiful picture. Let's go to the next slide. I guess we got a couple of slides here. Everybody's seen this timeline before already. We have our committees here, sustainability, access, funding, and you can see the timeline here. The next slide will go a little bit more deeper into the timeline here. We obviously see that we want to be choosing a zero emission vehicle for Valley Link in the February timeframe. March is our energy strategy. No matter what vehicle we pick, we have to have a strategy for energy. That's going to be obviously likely hybrid. And that even gets even deeper into what kind of hydrogen do you use. In April, we'll be talking about the sustainable system design and looking at best practices globally through our partners at Stadler. And then this March-April town hall meeting, I just, is this what we call, is this the hydrogen summit we were talking about, or is this something else?
It's a to be planned.
To be planned. So we're going to go out to the public with it.
Effective outreach, yes.
Very good. Let's go to the next slide. So here's the report that we had, the people that are on it. We didn't miss anybody, did we? Nope, they're all here. Very good. Next slide.
And this is,
go ahead. Yeah.
and this, I want to add that this is an addition to the 23rd meeting that we're planning with the sustainability AHA, which we dive more into the program and the OEM facility and how everything tied us with everybody else.
What date is that again?
The 23rd.
Yeah,
February 23rd, 10 a.m.
Very good. I think everybody understands a big part of this whole project is the fact that we are being environmentally friendly, reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Important to note that the state of California is committed to doing this, and therefore that makes this project very attractive to them. And we know that we want to own the entire food chain if we can, from the filling stations that we use and all of the things that we need to do. We're looking to design and construct the infrastructure over in Tracy for how we would do that. Next slide.
Oops, sorry.
That's
Stuck.
okay. Right there. No, let's go to that now. The last
This
one.
one.
Yeah, no, the one after this. No. Next one. Here's where we're at with the right there. Safe and reliable service. All right. So this is the hydrogen fuel cell battery hybrid vehicle that we're looking at for Valley Link. The reasons why we can provide safe and reliable service, obviously important for our riders, but also environmentally friendly. Also, it's in line with what the state of California, what the federal government is able and willing to approve. So these are technologies that are US approved and also made in the US. This is going to be made in Utah, which is great. We're going to be looking at the production methods in March. As I mentioned, hydrogen can come from many different sources. We want to make sure that we use the cleanest, greenest form of hydrogen, if at all possible. This is a proposed production facility in Tracy. And we're going to be also making sure that we look far and wide at all of the different options for hydrogen in partnership with other agencies like the Alameda County Transportation Commission, which is planning a hydrogen summit for later on in the year, but we're bringing industry together. Those are the leaders in the industry around the world that are working on hydrogen, along with agencies that are considering different hydrogen solutions. Valley Link being one, the Port of Oakland being another, AC Transit being another, Chevron and the refineries being another. And then we're going to bring in the elected officials that are making those decisions with their agency staffs. And so all three coming together, industry, agencies, staff, and agency elected officials, directors, to come together and learn as much about hydrogen or be updated on what's the leading edge going on in hydrogen, so that we can all make informed decisions together, maybe getting synergies together, maybe getting learnings together. The staff are already talking about these things. I know in Bishop Ranch or in Contra Costa, they're already having a lot of discussions around hydrogen. And so we're not going to just do what is in our own right in front of us. We're going to be looking at what's around us, what everyone else is doing, and that'll happen in partnership with a few other agencies. ACTC right now kind of taking the lead, along with Bay Area Air Quality Management District. I mentioned the others, and Contra Costa Transportation as well. So that will all come before us soon enough as well. And with that said, I think that's kind of a 5-minute report, unless Marianne or Kevin or Veronica, if you had anything else to add, that would be fine. Otherwise, we can take questions or move on.
I believe we have Stadler also available.
Oh, Stadler, yeah, let's see. Let's hear from Stadler, and I think they have a photo of the exact production facility in Utah, or something in the works in Utah. Who's here from Stadler? There you are, Matt. Hi. Martin.
Good afternoon, everybody. Well, thanks for having us. And again, what a wonderful and beautiful project. It's so great to see such a technology leading team together to really want to make the difference for the community. So we're super glad to be part of that conversation. I think Matt wanted to share maybe the.
Yes, let me try and share my screen here. And hopefully this is going to work.
And we want to keep it as brief as possible, but give you obviously as many and much information as you want to know and need. It's just Matt and me. We give you real quick about the facility here in Utah, a 2-minute lineup, and then Matt is going to talk about the product itself and where it's currently the status of the product itself, of the train. As we heard, we're manufacturing in the United States in Salt Lake City in Utah. We have, in the meantime, about 450 employees here in Utah working on different projects. Globally, we're a company with more than 13,000 employees and $3.5 billion of revenue. So quite a large company. Building trains, that's kind of what runs through our veins, from streetcars to basically high-speed trains. 165 miles an hour is currently the fastest one we built for Switzerland. Metros, light rail, locomotives, all state-of-the-art. We did sell or deliver more than 10,000 units in more than 43 countries. So again, that's just showing how international we are. For the US, we started about 20 years ago with our first project in the US, and we started 6 years ago to actually manufacture locally. One of our biggest achievements over the last 20 years was to make a European style light aluminum design train technology actually safe for the US as well, and get it approved by the Federal Railroad Administration. So that was quite an achievement over the last 20 years. It also took almost 20 years to make it into the CFR, which are the rules for our safety, in one hand on the safety relevant part of the trains. And really that's kind of important down the road if we talk about the train itself with hydrogen on it. I mean, you can imagine that the first question people are asking is this dangerous? How do you make it safe? And that's really where one of our strengths are or is to coordinate and collaborate with the FRA to make this to a successful product. You see here the basically where we have projects in the United States, across the nation, kind of the belt around the nation. And also you see the last 4 years, we've been really very busy with projects, with new projects. You also see that the Caltrain corridor, the Bay Area, the electrification of the Bay Area, they are going to receive our trains, 19 bi-level trains. And we just delivered 3 single-level trains to SBCTA. Those were still on with an older design with the diesel engines in it, biodiesel. But they also ordered an option of, or not an option, but a 4th train, and that's to be delivered with an hydrogen fuel cell on it instead of diesel propelled. And that's been said, I would like to, the facility, that was a picture of our grand opening 3 years ago in Utah, with a rather smaller team at that point of time that grew pretty far, but we have more than 300,000 square feet of production space, paint, testing. We have our test track here in Utah, whereas we do test the train, and we owe about 62 acres here in Utah at the moment. So there is some room for growth as well for the US or North American market. Matt, maybe a few words about the train itself that we're currently designing for San Bernardino.
Yes, so what you see here, it's good to see the board members, and we shared a little bit of this last week with that Sustainability Ad Hoc Committee, and I think it might be useful before we dive into the hydrogen piece and give you an update on the SBCTA project, just a little background on the train itself. I know it's been kind of shown in some of your materials, but you see here a 4-car configuration. So the SBCTA train is 2 passenger cars and a center power pack. And most likely what we're looking at for your operation is a little bit bigger train. You can see here that you can look at the passenger seating capacity. And with a single 4-car train, you can carry about 220 people seated. And you can actually connect 2 of those trains together and then carry obviously double that amount of people on the train. And then within the train itself, off to the right side of the screen here, you can look and see that there are different passenger seating configurations, and the inside of the train is as modular as the propulsion of the train itself. So if an extra restroom was needed, or bicycle accommodations, or different seating types, we can do those types of things. And it's all dependent on the customer and the kind of service that you operate. And so that's the kind of the train itself and the passenger amenities. So like Martin said, Stadler's been at this for 20 years to get the European technology over to the US, and the modular nature of that power pack in the middle, essentially taking a European design, which runs off of an overhead catenary, and taking that and adding that center power pack, we call it. And then within that power pack, that's what generates the electricity to run the train. And so what's actually propelling the train are the wheel sets on either end of the train, and they get the electricity from that power pack. And they don't really care, the wheel sets, where they get the power from, as long as it's generated. And so that power pack, you can put diesel engines, you can put batteries, you can put hydrogen fuel cells, you can put a combination of those things in that power pack. And that's kind of the focus that Stadler's had over the last couple of decades to really make this technology work and to prove it out and show that any type of propulsion is usable in that center power pack. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about the SBCTA FLIRT vehicle. We got some updated information today that'll really show how that project is taking off in production. But I mentioned that's a 2-part train set, and ideally it eventually could go, and the idea really was that it can go from the Redlands line all the way into LA Union Station and back without refueling. And so 250 to 300 miles per day. And we'll talk a little bit more about that schedule. And then on the battery side, so same looking train, it's that FLIRT base, very modular. We have several orders in Germany now, just about 100 trains, 99 trains, as a matter of fact, where in fact the range, which was initially designed to be between 70 and 80 miles, some of our test trains are hitting almost 140 miles, and those are high-tech lithium-ion battery packs, and they're 3-part train sets. I only have 2 slides left. This isn't meant to be looked at in great detail, but in general, this is that center power pack, and the whole idea is that in this case, this has a fuel cell, hydrogen fuel cell on the left side. The hydrogen tanks is what this rendering shows, kind of in the middle and on the right. And those things work together and it's a sealed off area. There are no passengers allowed in this area. So of course, the Federal Railroad Administration is very keen on this approach because you're not mixing passengers with hydrogen. And so the design has been moving forward for a very long time. And again, with SBCTA and Metrolink, it's been something that is coming to fruition. And then the last slide I had before we wanted to certainly open it back up for discussion is these pictures were literally taken today, or perhaps yesterday, because it's 8 hours time difference between here and Switzerland. But we wanted to show you that the SBCTA fuel cell train is really, it's in production now. And so the car bodies have been moved into the production site after they've been prepped and painted. Final assembly is beginning. You can see the picture on the left. That is one of the cab cars. And Martin referred to the technology we've been working on. It doesn't look much like a train right there, but that's the energy absorption, the crash energy management system that is integral to the FLIRT train sets. You can kind of see the frame of that there, and then the SBCTA colors in the middle on that cab car, and then the right picture is actually the power pack. So eventually that will have all of the propulsion we're talking about inside that. So that's where the fuel cells, the hydrogen fuel tanks, the electrolyzers will all be. And that train is going to be on display And we'd love to invite anyone to come and check it out. That's going to be in September in Berlin. That's at the InnoTrans. It's the largest public transportation show in the world. Probably many of you are familiar with APTA, and this is sort of APTA on steroids. This is an enormous event. And there's probably, Martin could tell you, there's probably 20 different trains that are in the yard of this expo center. So it's quite a scene. We're going to showcase that train at InnoTrans later this year. And then it's going to start going back through some of the dynamic testing and certifications that are needed. Eventually shipping over to the US here, probably middle of next year is what we're looking at. And then there's some additional type testing that's required the second part of 2023. And then of course it's up to the customer on when they actually want to put it into service, but it looks like most likely the first quarter of 2024, this train will be in revenue service. But it has come out of the ground, as they say, and it's being constructed right now. So this has gone from theory to paper to laboratory to real life in an awful hurry. And we're very proud of this train. And again, this is the baseline of what we're working on. And we've been talking to your staff about, of course, what would need to be done on the Valley Link system. And you have a very different grades and profiles than SPCTA, but those are all things that can go into that design process. So I think I will turn it back over to the director or Supervisor Halbert at this point.
I think that completes the subcommittee presentation. Thank you very much. Exciting to see those trains in production. But if we have any questions or comments, otherwise I would consider this subcommittee update completed. There are
We do have a
Hudson.
couple members
Oh,
of the public.
it cannot be complete without a comment or a question from Dave Hudson. Go ahead,
I'm
Dave.
thinking as Michael Tree
Actually-
looks at me, he knows where I'm
Actually,
going.
before we open up for the directors, let's go to public comments since we have members of the public raising their hands. So Candace, could you please open this to the public for public comments?
Sure. First person we have is Vaughn.
Go ahead,
Vaughn,
Vaughn.
can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. It took a second to turn on, to unmute. Can we get notified of the subcommittee meetings and stuff? My notifications of this meeting have been intermittent, but I'd like to be able to, if it's not illegal, to come in on the hydrogen subcommittee meetings, and also anything to do with Hydrogen Summit. Maybe I have to contact Supervisor Hubbard's office or something, but since I drive a hydrogen car, this will relate in some way. I'd like to be notified about these meetings if it's possible for the public to attend.
Thank you.
Madam
Michael
Chair,
Conrad.
I believe the I believe the ad hoc subcommittee meetings are not public. They're not Brown Act committee meetings. But I'm sure the agency would be happy to let him know of that the event. Is it I assume that's public, the event on the 23rd? Is that public? No. Okay.
No, it's not. No,
All right,
it's
well,
not.
if I would just note that if a majority of a quorum of either any board is going to attend, we probably would need to notify that as a public meeting and allow the public to attend. So that may affect how you want to, if you do want to keep it as a.
We're trying to keep it to a small group since
Okay.
we're talking fundings and possibilities that we don't know, which is a strategy. So is a working product. So it's not final. So it's not an intent to just make it public. Yeah, but for public knowledge and transparency, we're sharing the day that we're meeting. Yes.
Right, and we do want to fully comply with the Brown Act. It's just that sometimes ad hoc committees are more on an ad hoc basis. They're more informal, and that's the law makes accommodation for that. So we try to be very careful, but that's the explanation. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. We have another member of the public wishing to speak.
Yes, one more. Octavio, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
So I just have two quick questions. One is, what is the speed or top speed of the hydrogen train? And the second is, what's going to be the energy transfer efficiency of the hydrogen fuel cell you'll be using? Because as far as I understand, it has about the same energy transfer rate as a diesel combustion engine and lower than the solid oxide fuel cell. Thank you.
All righty, we'll close that and we'll open it to Sadler or a staff member who can answer that question.
Well, I could maybe from the Stadler perspective, that was a very detailed technical question. I don't know what the efficiency of the fuel cell is off the top of my head, but I know that the speed of the vehicle typically is limited by the class of the track, it's called. And so typically these trains would operate at 79 miles per hour or less. But the design speed of the train is typically between 110 and 120 miles per hour. Martin can correct me if I have that wrong, but typically it's designed well past the design speed of infrastructure.
Thank you so much. Candice, we have any other members of the public?
We do not.
All right, we'll close public comment. We'll bring it back to Director Hudson.
Yeah, I want to be clear that this meeting for in Berlin is September 22nd through the 26th. Does that mean the board members will have to leave on the 20th if we want to be over there? And can we hold our meeting while we're there? I know I'm half making a joke, but when you say this thing's like the APTA conference on steroids, I mean, APTA's 300,000 to 400,000 square feet. Are you telling me this thing's bigger than that? I mean, where do you hold it? Martin, I'm putting you on the spot, or one of you guys, are you serious? This thing's bigger than that?
Yeah, APTA is a birthday party compared to Berlin. I mean, it's an outside, inside different halls, multiple halls that people are actually, the expo is happening. And then there is a huge rail yard. We usually bring 6 to 7 trains to that expo. And obviously all our competition is bringing a little less.
I thought you were going to say 6 to 7 board members.
No, trains. So there's going to be 20 to 30 trains being like, really you can touch, feel, walk through. And obviously there's it's really a multiplier of the APTA Expo. So it's a cool visit anyway, just being involved in procurement and in transit. It's really, we meet a lot of people there and good innovations too.
That's awesome. Well, if you go, David, just report back to us.
I'll also give you the bill. We are talking stipend on that to go over there and stay there for 5 days.
You know, our batch is limited, but hey, if anybody who wants to go on their own penny, please come back and report to us.
We'll pick up your meals.
There you go. All righty. Thank you, everybody. This is an informational item only, and I cannot say thank you enough to Matt and Martin for taking the time again to talk to us and update us all. It's always fun to have you guys around. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Of course. Bye-bye.
See ya.
All righty. I'm going to try to do number 9 first, and hopefully that takes a few minutes. I really want to wish to just remain the agenda, but I know that we have a couple of people leaving early, so I'm trying to just figure out. Let's do number 9, the 2022 Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program, which is a TIRSEP grant application. This is an action item, which I'm very excited to have here, especially because Tracy is, we have the opportunity, you guys, with our OM facility to just get us to places that we didn't thought. It's a foresight that who knew that they will advance us to this level. So I'm very excited to hear the staff report, and hopefully we make this happen. Kevin.
Yeah, and thank you. I'd be amiss if I didn't very quickly introduce our new Deputy Director, Will Ritter, who's joining us and just hit the ground running. Will worked for the San Joaquin Council of Governments for 12 years, I believe, where him and I worked together for at least 6 years or 7 years, where the joke was he would get the money and I would spend the money. And then he went to LA Metro, where he was very successful down there, and why we want him back up here so we can set up those funding strategies that he comes up with to help us get money for our project. And I'm very happy and lucky that Michael could bring him on board and the board could have another excellent staff member such as Will. So with that, Will, if you're on, you can take it away with your report.
Thank you, Kevin, and good afternoon, Chair Vargas, members of the board. Staff is also very excited about this item specific to submitting a joint application for the 2022 Transitory Rail Capital Program in partnership with Contra Costa Transportation Authority, LAFTA, as well as County Connection. And this is really seen as not only a kind of next step in positioning the larger project for much larger state and federal funding opportunities, but as noted in some of the prior reports, a way to also be able to support the larger regional collaboration around hydrogen fuels in their application to transit, as well as other freight and considerations in that regard. The Transitory Rail Capital Program is the state's largest discretionary funding program for transit and intercity rail, promoting the expansion as well as modernization of those types of facilities around the state, while at the same time focused on the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions as well as vehicle miles traveled. The 2022 Transitory Rail Capital Program cycle is estimated to program about $500 to $600 million in funding statewide over a 5-year period beginning in fiscal year 2022-23 out through fiscal year 26-27. And those applications are due now at the beginning of March 3rd. Specific to the joint application, we have been actively working with the other partners around primarily a program of projects that are focused on new hydrogen-powered express bus service on the I-680 corridor. That would include not only the purchase of new buses to be operated by LAFTA as well as County Connection, but also a new hydrogen bus maintenance facility, a fueling station, and then a number of mobility hubs along the corridor. Specific to the Valley Link project, what we're looking at is a focus on the fueling plant to be developed at the Tracy Operations and Maintenance Facility. And we're actively working right now with the other project partners to be able to size the kind of scope of the project, recognizing that it is scalable to what makes the most sense for purposes of the joint application and the most immediate use for supporting the hydrogen fueling of those buses that are anticipated. So the item before you here is a recommendation to be able to support that application, as well as a commitment of the local match, which is effectively targeted to be the right-of-way that we have available at the operations and maintenance facility that would be able to support the not only the maintenance facility, but also this hydrogen fuels plant. And then, of course, to be able to delegate authority to the executive director to be able to negotiate and enter into any and all agreements that would be associated with the grant application, as well as a potential funding award from the state. And with that, I'm happy to answer any other questions at this time.
Before we go to the board, let's see if any members of the public has any comments. Candace, can you check, please?
I do not have anyone from the public with a hand raised.
Perfect. We'll bring it back to the board of directors, Mr. Akincho.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So how does this benefit our partners? Are they coming to refuel at the Tracy station, or what is the, I mean, they want something. If they partner with us, they want something from us, don't they?
And the intent is that the hydrogen fuel plant will be able to provide the needed hydrogen fuel for those buses to be operated along the 680 corridor. And we'll be working through what makes the most sense as far as being able to transport the fuel that we produce there at the operations and maintenance facility to the fueling stations that are anticipated to be in the Livermore area, as well as where County Connections is looking to host that activity as well.
So so in other words, we are not going to have traffic issues coming from all this, from Contra Costa and everybody coming to Tracy to refuel.
It would not be the intent. The intent would be to actually transport the hydrogen fuel from the Tracy Operations Maintenance Facility over to those fueling facilities in the Bay Area.
Thank you, sir.
Vice Chair.
No, I just wanted to thank staff for bringing this forward, but also just being aware of the collaboration that we will be working together, not only with LAFTA, but also with the CCTA, and just in our vision to try to be able to be green and bringing a project forward with, trying to meet action plans, not only through our counties, but through our cities as well. So thank you for your hard work.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Anybody else? Do I have a motion?
Hernandez will go ahead and move.
I'll second. Right.
Candace, could we please have roll call?
Akim Joe,
Yes, ma'am.
Cantu,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Kick,
Yes.
King Tingle,
Yes.
McPartland,
Yes.
Neeram,
Yes.
Rickman,
Yes.
Steffer. You're muted, Karen. Stepper,
Sorry, yes, thank you.
Vargas,
Yes.
Vargas, Warner,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Zuber.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We're gonna move item 11 up to item 10. So, because I know that we are losing a couple of the members, so let's do that. So we have full board participation, the election of board chair and vice chair. And I will ask Michael Conrad to explain the reasons why we're doing this today.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The bylaws provide for 2-year terms for the president and the chair and vice chair of the board. That 2-year period ran from the beginning of the agency in January. This item should have been brought to you in January. I think with all of the focus on the Michael Trees change, we didn't do that. So we're bringing it at this time. As we noted in the staff report, there's been some change with Supervisor Haggerty's tenure. He was reelected, but of course left office and had to leave the agency in January of last year. And so Chair Vargas has taken that position and fulfilled the unexpired term, and we elected Vice Chair Hernandez as vice chair. The only thing that does, and I tried to allude to it in the staff report, it's not really clear. We do have language in the bylaws that talks about exchanging the chair position between San Joaquin and Alameda counties. We didn't necessarily specify the exact way that would be done when we've had unexpired terms. It gets a little complicated. But I looked at this thoroughly, and I think the saving language in the bylaws is that when there's a question that's not exactly addressed in the bylaws, that is really something to be determined by a majority vote of the board. And so, as noted in the staff report, my recommendation, my view is that the board.
And an abundance of caution.
Yeah, you get to decide which I don't think the bylaws exactly specify what to do in this instance. I will say Alameda County did have the chair for 3 years. San Joaquin has had it for 1. But other than that, I'd leave it to your good judgment.
All righty. Before we open it for the public, and I saw you, Bernice, and then I saw Hudson. So when I come back, Bernice, you're first, and then Hudson. Is any members of the public candidate that wishes to make comments?
We do not have anyone with a hand raised.
Perfect. I'll close a public comment, and Bernice, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair Vargas. I want to say on this particular subject, that Chair Vargas has done a wonderful job. And if it's time to make any recommendations for the chair, I'd like to recommend Chair Vargas to continue in this capacity. And the reason being that Ms. Vargas has passion for this project, and that's not saying that the rest of us don't, but she's been on board a long time. She has passion. She's shown commitment. She has the energy, and most importantly, in the institutional knowledge. She's been with this project since early on, and we've had some dynamic people. You know, I call it the dynamic, not the duo, but dynamic trio. We've had Scott Haggerty, Veronica Vargas, Michael Tree, and I'm going to say the staff and team. So we've had some really movers and shakers. And like anything else, you want to keep some of that energy and power behind it with some consistency. So without saying any more words, I would be honored if this board would stand with me in recommending and continuing Chair Vargas for this very important position, if she would accept it.
Thank you. Of course I will accept it, but we can continue with the discussion first. Thank you guys for that vote of confidence. I appreciate it. Director Hudson, and then I will go to Director Akincio and Director Warner.
Yeah, I almost wish I could repeat everything Michael just said, but let me just tell you, and you know, Dave Halbert, correct me if you think I'm wrong, but we sit on a couple of these regional committees, and when you start going away from the rotational setup that you have, you start causing problems. You can do it, but you start causing problems. If it had been elected or selected, where someone, and it's not names and it's not personalities, it has to do with this geographical equity. You get bad feelings when you don't need it. If it had been where you were the elected person previously and not taking over for Scott, I would have been saying, okay, who's vice chair, move up, and we just keep the rotation going. But instead, what I'd say is, let's just keep the rotation going for a couple more years, and the next vice chair would move up for Veronica's spot. It makes the most sense to keep rolling where we're at. I don't have a problem with either one of you being the chair, and I don't think anybody else does here, but let's not start setting bad tones when we're getting to where we're actually going to do something. So personally, yeah, I think Bernice, you nailed the way we'd go, and if I'm wrong, somebody tell me.
Thank you. And I agree with that. We really want to make sure the equity, and it is, you know, we don't want to upset those things, but yes. Go ahead, Director Akincio.
Yes, thank you, Director Hudson. The same feelings here. Michael, you know, you need to hold I'm talking to our counselor now. You need to really, really be focused on this particular issue. Once you get out of the rotational plan and you start to get city interest involved and regional issues involved, then you're going to run into some issues down the road. If you don't clarify it now, nobody has any issues. I don't have any issue with the way it is now. But if we don't tackle the issue or put something in place to keep the rotation and the way it was written in the bylaw, when the money start to come in and cities are getting levied and stuff like that, you will start to now deal with the issue down the road. So that is why I say, where the bylaw, where it doesn't say this, it doesn't say that. We are smart enough to look at those things. I mean, we know what the bylaw, we know we can elect people to lead us. We understand that. But you don't want to get into this mode of just saying, let it be. That's all I have.
Thank you, Director Akincio. Appreciate that. Director Warner.
I think it's fine for Veronica and Melissa to switch. And I think that in general, we should be flipping back and forth across the Altamont for the chair and vice chair.
That's how we had it. It's 2 years, 2 years chair and 2 years vice chair. And it's supposed to be 2 years Alameda County, 2 years San Joaquin County. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's fine.
Thank you. Director Harbour.
Yeah, so just as a point of clarification, I believe we have options. One option is to extend the current director's term for another year, allowing Veronica to serve for 2 years and then back and forth. Another option is to state that she just filled out the previous term and then give her her own 2-year term from here. I prefer the first one, which is just to say that she did a good first year. The terms are meant to be 2 years. Give her the second 2-year of the second year of the 2-year term, and then keep the rotation going back and forth. You know, I believe this may have just been an unintended consequence of a year ago when we had to pick a replacement, not determining at that point how it would be 1 year or 2. Apparently, it wasn't discussed. And so I'm happy with just saying that terms are 2 years. We move back and forth, and it's been 1 year, and now we have another year. My expectation would be at the end of this next year, then that it should move back over the Altamont, vice chair moving up, pick a new vice chair. That new vice chair ought to come from San Joaquin, so that in 2 years' time from thenceforth, it would be a San Joaquin director, and back and forth. We just get back on track, pun intended, by granting a second year right now. That's what I'm thinking.
I think that will be a cleaner way to do it. I support that. If the board supports it, I think that will be the best way. And it's an election year, so it just makes sense to have 2 years term, just completing that. But I appreciate that. I don't know how everybody else feels, but I'm open to hear a discussion. Yes.
Madam Chair, unfortunately, the bylaws do require a 2-year term. So the election today should be for a 2-year term. However, I believe, Chair, I don't think I'm speaking out of hand, that you have a term limit coming up.
I do.
Position with the city. So it would only be for a year, practically. We can look at trying to draw a specific rule to deal with this situation. Again, the bylaws have the provision that when something's not clearly stated in the bylaws, it's simply addressed by a majority vote of the board. So that's why I was saying the board has the.
I just don't want to be having an election every year because of what happened. So I think it should be cleaner.
So here we have 2 chairs in a row who are going to be termed out and need to replace. So I think we can, we can draft a.
Melissa's not getting turned out. She can rerun. Vice chair can rerun.
No. I'm saying that
talking about
Supervisor Haggerty left office and
Okay.
left in the middle of a term, and so could no longer serve as chair of this agency, and that may well be what happens for you. We can look at an amendment to the bylaws to try to address that, but I think right now it's simply the board has the leeway to. But it would be for a 2-year term. The election needs to be for a 2-year term.
Michael, listen, I don't care how you do it. That's up to you. What we're going to do. And if we do it now, or we do it tomorrow in a special meeting, or we do it whenever, you figure out how. What I'm going to suggest we do is that we extend Veronica's term for 1 more year, and then we start moving back and forth. You figure out the legal stuff how, and come back to us and tell us how. And if that's what we need to vote on, then I say we vote on that, and then come back.
Is that your motion? Oh, your request?
It's mine. Hudson.
Well, wait. It's a friendly amendment to the motion that Bernice and who seconded, and McFarland second. So it's a motion on the floor right now to elect a chair and a vice chair, right? We're still chair and vice chair.
Yep.
And that we are looking for a friendly amendment to that motion to be for 1 more year.
You know, when I made, when I made my suggestion or a motion, I'm looking for a 2-year period. And the reason being is that you were finishing out someone else's term. And normally when you're finishing out someone else's term, then when the next cycle comes up, there's you or somebody else does their own term. So in a way, you're almost, well, I shouldn't say being penalized, but you were filling in for Scott Haggerty when he left. And my motion was to vote you in for your own two-year term.
Okay, all right.
So if it has a second, then we can vote on it. It may pass and it may not. I wouldn't support that.
I don't. I'm going to raise to make a substitute motion, which would take priority and a vote on that. And that is that we extend the term of our current chair for another year, which would make it a two-year term. And then in essence, switch when we are making our vote for chair and vice chair to after the election year. This really cleans up our bylaws. And the bylaws may say you have to elect for a two-year term. I understand that, but I haven't heard anything in this report that says we can't extend a person to make it a two-year term. And that's what we're doing. And Veronica would have 2 years. I mean, actually, she could apply for vice chair if she wants afterwards, come back again, but it keeps it at two-year terms. I get where you're at. I've had 15 different ways of doing this thing, but I'm telling you, it is the simplest way. That's my substitute motion, to extend the term of our current chair for 1 year to make it a two-year term total. So if I don't get a second, you don't have to bother with it.
I could rally around that. I could rally around if it's going to be cleaning it up for long-term, I could support that.
All right,
So
I think I have a
hand
first and a second, and I'm gonna go to Director Warner next.
But who seconded it?
Bernice just did.
Bernice.
Oh, Bernice, I'm sorry, Bernice.
Bernice, yeah. Director Warner, you have the floor, sir.
That's what rally means, Dave.
So what I would like to also suggest, and I'll go with the motion that Director Hudson just made, but why don't we line up our terms with the election terms? Because then we don't have this, who's succeeding what term and all that kind of stuff. So if we're cleaning this up, let's make it line up with elections. So we're not trying to substitute somebody out either because of an election or terming out or whatever. So I would, if I can, further modify it to.
I think that's what we're doing, Bob.
That's what I did, Bob.
Okay.
It is done. So with that said,
I call for a vote on the original motion.
That's not.
No. Substitute motion goes first.
Yeah.
That's Robert's rules.
She accepted it. So that is the motion is now modified to what Director Hudson.
all righty, let's do
I
a
did
roll
second
call.
that.
And you second it. So you withdraw your original motion, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did
All right.
send down that and go.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
So how does that affect the vice chair position? Does this affect that motion too, to line these up so that they'll be at the same time?
So I think it would work that each do it for a year. I'm going to bring back a change to the bylaws so that we can, I think it's correct to look at this in terms of the election periods, because we don't want to have people having to leave terms, every chair leave terms in the middle because they get terms out or they leave office. So I will look at that. I think for this year, for the purpose of this meeting, the motion is fine. And we will elect for a 1-year term, and we're going to change the bylaws to implement that.
Is the motion for both chair and vice chair then, yes. Hudson and Bernice? Are we making that motion for both? Yeah.
Okay, that was my clarification that I wanted to ask.
So I've got a question. I'm not sure of the date of 1 year because the election is November, right?
So it's in December.
Well,
the election is November, December, but the term isn't it's not, let's just get the date to which the term ends. Make sure I understand. 1 year from now is not what we're talking about, right?
That's correct. Okay. Michael, can you clarify the end of the term?
I would say we take it to the end of November, and at that point we will,
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and in November we'll know what the election results are. And then, people don't necessarily leave office until their council reorganizes, assuming it's a city, in early December. But I think the end of November. So I think that makes sense.
So, but we will still, people don't get seated until January. So we will have a December meeting. I'm intending to have a December meeting.
maybe
Yeah,
some
I think
cities are
it's a
different.
December end because you have
Okay.
things that, well, you have 30 days after the election to clarify the report. And it does, and depending on when the election occurs, that goes into December before you sometimes have the results of the
Okay,
election.
all right, so let's do it December 31st. So
Yes.
this will be through December 31st of 22.
Anybody else, any question, or we can do a roll call?
I'd like to do a roll call. I have to be on a meeting in 1 minute.
All right, roll call it is.
Kinjo,
So moved.
Cantu,
Yes?
Who?
Cantu. I hear
Yeah.
you. Hobart,
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Oh, no, I can't, sorry. Hudson,
Yes.
Kick,
Yes.
King Tingle,
Yes.
McPartland,
Yes.
Neram,
Yes.
Rickman,
Yes.
Stepper,
Yes.
Warner,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Zuba.
Yes.
Motion passes.
And Vargas is yes.
Okay, sorry. Vargas, yes.
That's all right.
I dare
And
you to.
Recorded. All righty, we'll go to item 10, which is our last, well.
I'm going to have to excuse myself.
Thank you, Bernice.
Okay.
All righty, we'll move to item 10, which is the Caltrans project approval and environmental documents, the PA and ED cooperative agreement. And this is an action item, and very happy to have this agreement in place, and hope we can now get this environmental work underway and quickly as possible. So, Kevin, you have a presentation or a report?
I do, Madam Chair, just a report. This is pretty standard procedure for any approval needed on the state highway system or in the state's right of way. What it's requesting the board is to enter into this cooperative agreement for the Caltrans to provide what they call quality management assessment, which is oversight and review of our plans for the Valley Link project for environmental and preliminary engineering. And they approved the project initiation document in October, and that had a draft cooperative agreement, which sets this up. And once this is approved, then we can have that kickoff meeting with Caltrans to start the formal reviews of our environmental document. And that sums it up. And the recommended action is just requesting the board to authorize the executive director to enter into a non-reimbursement cooperative agreement for Caltrans to provide this oversight on the Valley Link project.
Thank you, Kevin. I'm gonna open it to the public for public comment. Candice, do we have any members of the public wishing to make a comment or remarks?
I do not have anyone from the public with a hand raised.
Perfect. We'll bring it back to the board. This is an action item or discussion. Do I have a motion?
Move. This Cantu.
Second.
Okay, moved by Director Cantu and Director Stepper. Roll call, please.
Director Kinjo,
Yes, ma'am.
Cantu,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Kick,
Yes.
McPartland,
Yes.
Neram,
Yes.
Rickman,
Yes.
Stepper,
Yes.
Vargas,
Yes.
Warner,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Zuba.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Candace. And we are moving along to number 12, Director's Discussions, Comments, Questions on Agenda Requests. Anybody wishes to make, oh, Hudson, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I promise this is the last one for the day, and I wished I'd kept these guys here. I mean, it just, when they said it was apt on steroids, I went a little crazy. But I've cut this deal a couple times before, and every single time I thought it was worth it. I went to the Electric Vehicle Symposium. Whereas I used my mile, well, I didn't use my miles, I used my wife's mileage. She's flight attendant. And, you know, Marriott Key, and all they paid for was the registration. I mean, the whole trip was very reasonable. I did the same thing with World Congress. I think all I paid was less than $1,000, and extremely impressed. And one in Singapore that shocked me. I mean, the whole trip was like $862 for a week. And you don't stay at a hotel in Singapore for a week. But point being is, I would like to get a cost from whoever they were for this, whatever conference it is, for the cost of registration. I'm not going these new $2,500 registrations. And what it would cost for the hotel or whatever, where it's at, and then just take it from there, whether it's worth paying my own way. I find these things to be extremely important. I would pay again to go. I'm not going to China for EBS, but I did have a ticket to go to Portland before it was canceled because of COVID. And if it comes back and it's in this country, the amount of stuff you see just puts you way ahead of the game. So if you could, I'm asking for what it would cost at the hotel and the registration in Berlin.
And to clarify, that will be out of our own pocket if we choose to go. We're just looking for the information to be shared with the board.
Yes.
Okay, I can second that.
Or cut a special deal when you're not looking. No.
No, but yes, I can support that for sure. And I think that's a great idea. And I have to thank you, Director Hudson, because of your mention in the last meeting about the National League of Cities. They brought it up to my city council, and our city council did approve, and our city managers looking into that so we can participate and all those things. So this environment of networking and collaborating between cities, I appreciate it, and I know my council understood and appreciated as well. So I love the dynamic that we offer and the advantages of networking here. So thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. You're too big of a player not to be in it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Vice Chair, you have the floor.
Yes, I just wanted to add that the Tri-Valley mayors went and we attended the mayor's conference in Washington, D.C., and we were honored to be able to meet with Nura Fernandez, which is our administrator for the federal transit. And she is an amazing woman. But not just even that, we advocated for Valley Link the entire time we were there. And Mayor Hudson was right by my side. And I know that we had Mayor Warner and Mayor Brown via Zoom, but it was just an honor to be able to bring the project forward and to be able to talk to other elected officials about it, but also our representatives.
And I have to say, Melissa, you've been a very busy and a huge advocate. She even was on her way to an event in the White House, and we had a meeting with Senator Eggman, and on the phone, on her way to the White House, she was participating. Your dedication, I sincerely appreciate it. So kudos. And you look fabulous on those pictures, by the way. I can't wait to hear all the details about those visits. So thank you so much for that commitment. Anybody else? Any other comments?
Yeah, I do have a second one before, if I could forget it, Veronica, but
sure.
Since we're on the let's all just praise Melissa Hernandez kick. Now she sent pictures of everything. I can't tell you how strong of an impression we made and they made on us with two members of the Department of Energy. And I would really like to see invitations go out to them, though I doubt they'll make it out here by February 23rd. And that's Rose Stevens Booker and Ali Nouri, who's the Assistant Secretary, who actually pulled us aside. Newell did a great job on this also. He deserves a lot of credit, but these people are players and they want to be part of it.
Send that information to Kevin. We'll figure it out. You know, we'll do the reach out. I mean, I like I said, I envision the sustainability ad hoc committee to be able to participate on the 23rd as well. It will be very important to have your guys' presence here when we have that. Director Warner, you have the floor.
I just wanted to add, the people from DOE are going to be coming out to visit the Livermore lab, I think next month, but I don't know if we can coordinate with that. I doubt if they're going to come out twice.
I think that's a great idea. Kevin, can you coordinate with Director Warner, see when that happens, and maybe we can join them?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Great discussion. All right, you guys. Anybody else? Going once, going twice? That's it. All righty. For next meeting, March 9th. I look forward to seeing all of you again. And thank you again for the vote of confidence on allowing me to be and serve one more year as your chair. I am actually ecstatic, and I love working with Melissa and all of you. So we have a huge agenda, which I'm hoping that on March 9, we can share with the rest of you the plan that I put together that I don't feel that comfortable presenting it in this meeting, but we have a 12-month plans that we develop with staff. So I'm hoping the staff can show that to the rest of the board for discussion, and hopefully we can adopt the next 10 or 8 months plans that we have going forward. Kevin, you think we can do that?
Absolutely.
Yep. All right. With that being said, I'm gonna look for a motion to adjourn.
Michael, who? Move to adjourn.
Second.
All righty. So it is. Thank you, guys.
All right.